Hey, beginning watercolor. I'm Brad Dinsmore. I will be your instructor this quarter for summer 2021. This is my favorite class to teach. I love beginning watercolor, and it's a special treat for me because it's only offered once a year, so it's only happens once every summer at Green River, and so here we are. This is the second time that I've been able to teach it online. Normally, I prefer teaching things face to face. But last year it was actually really cool because when I had to develop this class last summer, uh, it allowed students so much more freedom to, you know, to work whenever they wanted to because I didn't make it a hybrid class, so you didn't have to check in, say at like 2 o'clock every day. You could, if your friends wanted to go on a hike or you guys want to go bike riding or whatever. I mean, it's like 100 degrees out there right now. So if you want to go jump into a lake, cool off, you could do that. And so I just think for the summer, uh, you know, this online version of it is so cool. It's really cool. The one downside to it is, you can miss that interaction. Um, but I want you guys to help me with that. And so the best way to help me with that is to ask me questions. So if you email me and let me know like, hey, could you help me with this aspect of the painting or whatever? I'm confused about this. I love to do that. Or if you're reading through the instructions and you're like confused, or you have more, if it needs to be clarified a little bit, I can do that. And so, and I appreciate that. And if you have comments, feedbacks, or you want to learn something new, or a topic that I haven't covered in there, let me know, and I can make more videos and develop more content for you. With that said, I did try my best to write things down pretty thoroughly, at least enough to where you would get the information without boring you to tears, So I was trying to find that perfect balance. And so please read through the instructions, read through the modules and all the stuff that's on there, watch the videos. And then if you have questions, please send me an email. I'd love to answer that question for you. And I'll answer the question too, even if you didn't, but I might direct you to the video or something in the module if it's a really long explanation. So anyway, interact with me. I appreciate it. And we'll have some critiques and stuff too, where you get to interact with and see some of the work from your classmates as well. With that said, this is a beginning class. Like everyone's coming in from a different perspective and different spot on their drawing and watercolor journey. And so if you don't have a lot of experience, that's okay. This is a beginning watercolor class. If you have more like experience, you've taken a drawing class or something before, some things might come a little bit easier. But the important thing is we're gonna have fun in here. This is what this class is for. It's to have fun and to learn some new skills. So if you've taken this class, because you need like some sort of like the mental like escape, because this is really good. I think for a lot of people, last year people told me especially that this was like the most perfect class for them to, have a little for their mental health, and so, and I get that. And so it can be that. It can also be, just learning new skills. And I think a lot of people really got to develop the skills to the lifelong skills for starting watercolor. I mean, you're not going to become like a master of watercolor in your first 7 or 8 weeks of watercolor painting. It's just not going to happen. But I can give you the foundation to start a lifetime journey of watercolor, which is where you're going to ultimately grow the most. And so, yeah, we're just here to have fun and to grow. I'm not going to go over all the materials really right here because it's in the module and it's in in other videos and stuff like that. But last year I did recommend people get the same kind of materials just so it helps me, so that all the students are working with the same materials instead of everyone working with different kinds of paint. And we can still do that. If you want to work with a certain type of paint, we can do that. I just want you to know, if you use really cheap paints, really inexpensive ones, they might not work as well. And so that's one thing that I just want to just throw out there to for beginning watercolor people. You know, if you've never done watercolor before and you're thinking, well, I just want to just kind of dip my toe in the water, so to speak, and just get like the most cheapest basic, you know, watercolors possible, you're probably not going to paint watercolor ever again, because you're going to say, this is hard. I mean, watercolor painting is difficult to begin with, but if you don't use at least decent materials, it's really hard. I mean, if you're painting, like, expert watercolor painters can paint with poor watercolors okay. They don't like it. They really hate it, but they could do it maybe. But beginners, like if you don't, and you're using bad watercolor paints, it's really hard. So using better quality materials is really helpful. Okay, and so this is these Van Gogh or Van Gogh, if you however you want to pronounce it. In America, we generally say Van Gogh, so I will too. Van Gogh paints. That's a really good set, and it's that's what I did. I did a lot of my demos for this class using those paints. There's other good brands too, and other good sets too. But basically, you just need like a good set to that you can mix with. I'm not going to open up all these things, but there's the QOR, Daniel Smith. Those are really exceptional paints. It's like professional watercolor paints. There's Van Goghs, or not Van Goghs, the Daniel Smith paints. And so it's better to just get a couple nice like paints, like a few good quality ones, than like 50 bad ones. You know, sometimes they'll sell like those big giant sets, and it's like, well, this whole thing's worthless, because it'd be better just to have like 5 or 6. And so if you want to just get like a nice set, I did have the Daniel Smith as my original option last year, but they were all sold out, and it was just like a beginning starter set. So you could get those if you wanted to, but I don't do my demos in those. So I just recommend a good kind of entry level. Those Van Goghs work really well. And I'm not going to go into all the supplies, like the palette and stuff. This is a pretty inexpensive palette. Don't try to paint with something too small. Like those really small palettes, they don't work. It's better to have something like a little bit bigger to work with for mixing purposes. And again, that one's on the list too, so you can look at that. You can always get more or better ones too if you wish, but I think this is a good way to start things. I think the supply list that I made was right around $100. I think it was just under $100 when I put it together last year. And so that is pretty darn good for a beginning watercolor supply list, in my opinion. You're going to need 2 of these watercolor blocks, and I do recommend getting the blocks instead of like the different pads of watercolor paper, and I can talk more about that later. But basically, these are glued down on the sides, so you don't have to stretch your watercolor paper, which is really nice for beginners and professionals and everyone in between like me. So anyway, you know, a pencil and pen, or yeah, like a micron pen might be nice too. But other than that, yeah, look at the materials and let me know if you have any questions about them. There's a lot more videos covering that stuff. But anyway, I just wanted to throw a welcome video out to you guys. And again, if you have any questions, please email me, let me know, and let's have an awesome quarter, awesome summer. Stay cool if you can.